right, welcome back to Afternoon Drive here on Joppa Radio. My name is Drew Moholland. Hope you're all having a good Tuesday afternoon. As previously mentioned, I have a first-time guest on the show. His name is Tim Alberts. He's the new AD over at Triton. Tim, hello. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
Thank you, Drew. Likewise.
Yeah, so first off, I know a little bit about you, but, well, not exactly too much. I know you you were at Wilmington for a few years, and
Yes.
really beyond that, I don't know too much. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How are you?
Excellent. I just started at Triton Regional as a school district athletic director last Thursday, August 1st.
You literally started Thursday.
I did.
There you go. All right.
So I'm thrilled to be here.
Cool.
I was at Wilmington High School as athletic director for the past 3 years.
All right.
And prior to Wilmington, I was athletic director at Mattnon High School and also worked in private school education, both in fundraising and alumni relations.
All right.
And also coached soccer and lacrosse.
Okay.
So
Wilmington, so it's the Wilmington Wildcats, right? If I remember
Correct,
correctly.
yes.
There you go. All right. So what draws you to Triton from Wilmington?
Yeah, I was very good friends with Sean McGinnis, who was the former Triton Regional Athletic Director.
Good friend of the show.
Yeah, oh, great. So Sean and I are really close. We've spoken, on a daily basis for the last 5 years. So,
Right.
He thought the world of Triton, and if he lived closer, he would have been here for 20 years. I know that.
I don't think I realized how far. Where was he coming in from?
Sean lives in Norfolk, so
right,
he was driving at least an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes each way. So
I got family out there too, in Norfolk. That's right. That's like Foxborough area out there.
Yeah. So Sean and I would collaborate and discuss, and I've been to a lot of Triton games. I saw them play, and it was a great opportunity. And I certainly loved Wilmington and the students and the coaches there. But this was an opportunity I was really excited about, and I'm happy to be here.
You come into a Cape Ann league, which I'm sure you know a little bit about. But from what I hear, and from what I've experienced too, just calling games and everything, you have no idea what the rivalries are like until you actually live it. You're about to experience that firsthand. That get you all excited?
Absolutely. I know. We have a big football game coming up the first Friday in September. So
you guys are already looking at that. I mean, it's coming quickly, isn't it? When do those guys hit the field? Must be pretty soon.
Football starts on Friday, August 16th, statewide. So
it's like a week from Friday.
Yeah, football and cheer start on that Friday, and then all other fall sports start on Thursday, August 22nd.
And it's a quick summer. The every athletic director, and we have, I don't know how well you know them all, but we get Kyle Hodgson in here, and Dan Thornton from Pawtucket comes in a lot. Every one of them that have been here always says the same thing. What's the one thing I don't know about your job? And the answer, I think, is, at least one of the popular answers is you have no idea how far in advance we plan. And I would imagine that, they're talking about 2 seasons, 2 years out, 4 seasons out, already having schedules at least temporarily a little bit in place. I would imagine that being hired and just on the job last week, that job is a little bit tougher for you right now, having to jump into this, and maybe Sean, dealing with a lot of Sean scheduling maybe. I don't know. How does that work? Yeah,
Sean did an amazing job, so I'm very lucky. I took over.
You have to live with a lot of his scheduling right now, right?
That's true, yeah, but he did such a great job that, it's a well-oiled machine, and
that's good.
I'm lucky to take it over, and, like you said, we're pretty much done with winter schedules, and
it's unbelievable. Winter already in the books.
Yep. When I left Wilmington, all our winter games are done. Our league schedules for the spring of 2020 are out there. So
crazy.
It takes a lot of work just behind the scenes, but
people don't realize buses and all that stuff you got to think about.
Exactly.
And, budget for and all that.
Yeah. But when it all comes together, there's nothing better to experience.
It's a beautiful thing. Now, you said, are your coaching days behind you right now, or how does this work? Do you have that urge to coach still, or how does that work?
Certainly I love coaching, but given the time commitment of the profession, also I think you want to be equitable and fair to all teams. So it would be really hard to coach and be an athletic director.
Yeah.
So the way the job is set up at Triton, I'm also managing the middle school programs as well.
Yeah.
It would be too much of an undertaking to coach in addition to doing all that.
So you almost have to treat your whole group of coaches almost as your team. Like that's the team you're coaching now.
Absolutely. My goal is to support their programs individually.
Yeah.
And I want each program to think that I'm supporting them more than anyone else. So I think if I can do that, at the end of the day, I've done a pretty good job.
There you go. You get some, at the top of my head, you got some good teams coming back. I know your hockey team got really good this year.
Yes. They made it all the way to the Saga Center last year.
Certainly good. I saw them in person a couple times. Man, you left pretty sore after playing Triton hockey this year. They lost some guys, but they'll probably be good again. How about right off the bat? Have you already? I know you probably haven't had a chance to look at any of these teams, right? I mean, you're just hired.
Yeah, I was offered the position in late June, and then it got finalized right after the holiday. So I was kind of doing both jobs at the same time and was coming up on the afternoon. So I have met with every fall coach at Triton, which was great.
Did you have to fill any coaches, or was that already done?
All the varsity coaches were done.
All
so
right. It makes life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. We do have some middle school openings. If I could put a little message out there to the community, we have middle school openings for field hockey, softball, baseball, and JV boys soccer. So those are openings we'll be working on.
There you go. All right. Well, that's good.
If anyone's out there.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there are. What about as far as like philosophy? You didn't have to hire a coach this time around, but what do you think the perfect coach is? What's the coaching philosophy from you?
I think you have to be in it for the students. I went to graduate school and got a master's in positive coaching from the University of Missouri. So, that's very important to me.
Do they have a negative coaching?
Maybe Bobby Knight's coaching it there.
He's an interesting one, though, isn't he?
He is.
Because as crazy as he is, and there's no doubt he's crazy, he has an insane side to him in his heyday. It's amazing, the amount of proteges he has.
It's true. Yeah, he's got the most out of his players.
Anyways, I digress. That came up recently, though, with another coworker, and we had the same discussion. I know Havlicek, who just died from the Celtics, was he said he's one of the best basketball men he ever knew. Crazy. But anyway, continue on. Sorry.
No. So, certainly they need to be there for the students, just like a classroom teacher is just like a guidance counselor.
Yep.
The coaches are with the students, more than sometimes the parents are. If you add it all up, they're there for 2.5, 3 hours every day.
Yeah.
They have to be good role models for the students, be respectful, and ultimately they're representing the Triton School District, so they need to be on there, have the best foot forward.
What's the biggest difference, Wilmington versus Triton? I'm not sure what the size difference is. Is it about the same, or?
Wilmington was a little bigger. Certainly they are competitive. Sean and I scheduled games over the years, so they match up pretty well.
Okay, so what's the biggest difference as far as is it maybe just the commute on a personal level, or where are you coming from?
I live in Reading, Massachusetts,
so right in the middle,
just a half hour down the road.
Not too bad. So you're coming in from Reading, right? That's where you're living for the Wilmington job too?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. So there you go. So you don't have to really do any big moves or anything, which is good.
Nope.
So this is kind of a seamless transition for you. This should be all easy. I don't see any problems then. I bet you do. It won't be all smooth all the time, right? It can be stressful at times.
Every day is a different day, but I love going to work every day, and I absolutely love the profession I'm in.
What's the toughest thing on an athletic director in 2019? I ask a lot because I know it's a lot different than, I graduated high school in 2005, so the world has changed quite a bit in that decade plus. Social media is not, everybody's on social media now in some form. Nothing's really a secret when it happens within teams, good or bad. Is that one of the biggest things that is kind of tough on an AD, is the world of social media, and you got kids who maybe don't realize that whatever you put on social media should be what you would say in real life too? And
I haven't had any negative experiences with that. I think we've used social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, we've used it to positively highlight our...
It can be a real positive
absolutely,
thing, right?
I think the tough part for being an athletic director is the time commitment. I'm married and I have twin boys that are in 4th grade, so they're in the thick of it with their sports, and a lot of times I won't be able to make their games, but that's just the nature of the job. So certainly balancing your family time and the hours that go into being an athletic director is probably a challenge that probably everyone in the state would agree with. So.
Twin boys, 4th grade. So this is like you're just starting to get sleep. Is that right? Last few years,
they've been pretty good.
Man, that is twin boys. That's interesting. Well, that's a fun age, I guess. 4th grade.
It is now.
And then maybe they can come see some of the Triton games.
Absolutely. They'll be on the sidelines as much as they can. We are a big sports family, and my wife loves sports, and my sons are both involved as well. So
what do you know about the Triton Newburyport rivalry? Let's get right to it. I waited 20 minutes into the show to get to this part because you're on Newburyport soil here. Certainly we're not biased towards anybody, but as soon as Triton people cross in, they seem to start looking around and going, there's the all right, mile from the high school. We don't like that place.
No, I have the utmost respect for Newburyport. From my days at Matanon, we played them in hockey.
Yep.
I know it's a very heated rivalry.
It is.
But I think that's great. I think, like you said, social media and there's 1,000 TVs. It's tough. Like a lot of folks don't really appreciate high school sports, and to have a rivalry like Newburyport and Triton, it's something special. So I think, I think both teams will always give it their best effort.
Yeah.
I think my job as an administrator is to make sure that everyone in the crowds are behaving and representing their schools in a positive light, because certainly we're rivals and we both want to win the game, but we are neighbors, and we need to respect each other, and whoever wins that game, but keep it professional and have fun too.
History tells me that you won't have any problem with that. I used to call the hockey games for the radio, and we would do that game. We would never miss that game, and it jammed out buildings. Whether Triton and Newburyport were both really good, whether one was having a down year, that game was always, at least if it wasn't a close score, the game was closer than the score indicated, because it was always a battle every night on the hockey rink, and it could be hard hitting and borderline chippy at times. But one of my favorite parts about that rivalry is at the end of every game, the handshake line, you never saw anything happen. There was never any extracurricular stuff. Coaches always shook hands, tip the cap, move on, and that was it. That was the rivalry. It was all out, 100% chippy at times for the 45 minutes in hockey. But then at the end of the game, it was respectful, which I always thought was the coolest thing about that rivalry. And I hear it's the same way throughout all the sports, really.
Oh, that's awesome, and that's a credit to Sean and to Kyle and the programs they've run, and their coaches as well. So,
are you? You said you were a hockey guy. Do you realize how big of a hockey hub this part of the state is right here? Because I didn't. I grew up in Danvers, and I mean Danvers is a hockey town too, but I don't think I knew Newburyport was as. I mean, this is a hockey town, and then Triton, the Newburyport Triton rivalry. Triton, really? They're a hockey? Yeah, it's one of the biggest rivalries around. And I had to learn about all this when I got here, and I said, man, I live 20 minutes to the south. I had no idea. And then it's just a hockey town. The league's unbelievable, and I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And if take a couple steps back, it's Massachusetts and Minnesota have the most high school players in the country.
You know what I mean, though, when you have there's certain. I mean, it's definitely a hockey corridor, and it's a hockey state and all that stuff. Bruin's huge and everything. But there's certain communities in the state that are just, and this is really one of them. I just never knew it before, and just living so close, it boggled my mind, and now I completely know it. But it's cool. It's a cool thing to watch.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're great with all their athletics, and of course you see the basketball teams that make runs, teams get behind them and stuff. But I just it was interesting to see that. But anyway, as we look ahead to you got all your coaches filled. When do you start kind of evaluating or do you even care about this as an AD? I don't even know what an AD does here before the season starts. I mean, do you try to go evaluate coaches? Do you try to go see what kind of teams might be making runs? Or are you just trying to get your own paperwork in order? What is your...
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into starting a season out.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky I have an assistant, Macy Morrison. So she started just in the end of the summer or end of June.
Okay.
So before a student can be eligible, they have to have a valid physical on file, 13 months.
So it is the paperwork.
It's a lot of paperwork, and it's part of the job. You have to have the online registrations completed.
Oh yeah.
User fees have to be paid. All that, checking grades from previous school year to make sure they're academically eligible.
Yep.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and so that's certainly a big part of the preseason.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I met all the coaches over the last couple of weeks, and we came together and worked out a turf schedule so it's fair and equitable.
Yeah.
so we have that all ironed out through the fall.
That's true. Everybody wants those good fields to practice on and stuff, right?
Absolutely. We're lucky. We have a great complex and beautiful turf field, and we want to make sure that we spread it out so that all the teams are represented in a fair way. Gotcha.
All right. This is Tim Alberts again, folks, out of the new AD at Triton Vikings athletic director, going to be handling that program here for the foreseeable future. Tim, I wonder, and this has nothing to do with Sean, but I wonder, as you come into any position, any new position, what do you think the thing is that you most positively bring to a school, to an athletic program? What do you hope to see, like, immediately of your impact?
I think I want to try to meet the students, as many as possible. It's kind of a tough time to start, but they run summer camps, summer clinics in the summer, so I've got to meet some of them so far. What I think the students will realize is, I'm going to support them as much as I can. I'm going to be their number one fan across the board. So, I think just being a presence on the sidelines, attending as many games as you can, both home and away, I'll be their biggest fan. And, I think if you asked anyone in Wilmington, that's something that they'd say about me too.
What about how about like MIAA rules? Do you have to like freshen up on those things every year? It seems like they are strict as can be.
Absolutely. This is I think it's my 7th year as an athletic director. So, but there's so many different rules that you have to keep.
Is it every year? Every year they're changing?
They update the handbook on an annual basis. So certainly there's different rules that come into play. Summertime's a good time to catch up on that.
Do they star the ones that they've changed, hopefully, to make life
They
easy?
do, yeah. They do a great job. And, I've worked at the MIA as a tournament director for girls ice hockey and softball over the years. So, it's a lot goes into running those state tournaments, and it's a good association to be a part of.
Let me ask you. I think it was. I brought this up to pretty much every athletic director last year when it was happening, so it's only fair that I hit you with this tough question too, I guess.
Thank you.
Since it's the first time we're meeting. It was Saugus, I believe, that had the graduation and few kids having the cigars on the field, but still had tournament games. Pictures go around on social media. Principal suspends them, or whoever suspends them. Maybe it was from higher above, but administrators suspend the student athletes for their state tournament games for having the cigars on the football field during graduation, which I don't know about you, but I know that I had a cigar on the football field during my graduation. I don't even smoke, but I faked it. And I don't know. I thought that was a terrible moment, not only for the athletes. I thought it was a bit of a bad moment for the MIAA too. Now, every athletic director I talked to said it puts the athletic director and the principal and everybody else in a horrible position, and when where really their hands are tied. So, okay, I see that. I still think it's a horrible moment because you hurt the kids, you hurt the team, and really for what?
Yep.
Your thoughts?
Great question. I can't speak to what exactly happened at Saugus because I'm not familiar with all the specifics, but there are rules, and student safety and their health and well-being is top of our priority. So, that's up to the athletic directors to make sure that the students are aware of what they can and can't do. That particular example, it happens a lot. I'm not saying that's the only time it ever happened, but, I work with the coaches to make sure that they communicate making good decisions, whether it's before a dance, whether it's before graduation, letting them know specifics. So we actually, work with the coaches and let them know, please get the word out to the students. They can't be doing that. If they do and they're found guilty, this is the punishment. So, the MIA has rules ultimately for student safety. So, I'm probably in the unpopular minority. I think, the students made a bad decision, and ultimately you can't look the other way. That's on them.
I often thought that the coaches and the principals and all that stuff. I was thinking to myself, those guys and girls are probably just not happy with themselves that they let that happen, because they probably failed to communicate how serious of an issue that would be if that happened. And I think it was probably everybody was feeling pretty bad about that, even though if they couldn't say it, right?
Absolutely. No, I mean, certainly no one likes disciplining. That's
it's the tough part of the job.
It
isn't
is,
it?
but you have to come together and work with families to make sure that families are leading their children on the right path as well.
Yeah.
Certainly not a good situation that happened a few years ago, but hopefully a lot of students learned lessons over the last couple of years about it.
Again, Tim Alberts, Triton Athletic Director here on Joppa Afternoon Drive. My name is Drew Moholland alongside Tyler Neufeld, Sarah Hayden, Caleb Noble out there, and the whole gang, really. Hello to everybody on the radio and watching at home. We appreciate having you. I wondered, Tim, as the season kind of gets going here, not too many weather problems on this side of the schedule, right? It kind of gets tougher. Well, obviously the winters are going to be tough here, but really that winter into spring schedule gets really, really difficult. I don't know how it was in Wilmington over the last few years, but there can be some tough baseball fields getting ready and all that. Has that been one of the bigger headaches about being an athletic director in this neck of the woods?
Absolutely.
Yes. It's an easy yes, right?
Last winter wasn't too bad.
Yeah. But even still, it was tough to get a lot of those fields going.
Yeah, it's... unfortunately, you have sports that are usually played on grass, and usually you're starting in a gymnasium or in a parking lot, so it's not ideal. But
nothing like those balls ricocheting off the gym walls, right?
But our neighbors in Western Mass have it even worse. So they they start a couple of weeks later, and the further north you go, the better, the worse. So that's certainly a challenge, but. Having a beautiful facility with turf field, having 2 gymnasiums, that's what make Triton a nice spot and be good to manage those problems a little better.
Western Mass, everything outside Newton, as Mayor Tom Menino once said, right? Those epic lines. Out there in Western Mass, everything outside of Newton. What? That's too funny. So that's all right. So that's the one headache. I wonder what is the one part about your job that I guess the question that I kind of asked and answered already myself, but maybe I should just let you answer it. What's the one part about your job that I don't know that kind of, I don't know, is it the late hours at home? Is it the trying to go to bed and your wife's yelling at you? What's the deal?
What's the
toughest part?
The toughest part?
Toughest part that I don't know. I know the scheduling. I know that you got to get to field to field, but what's the part that you don't see?
I think it's just balancing your home life and your work life.
Yeah.
And that's something, quite honestly, I have to work on.
Probably everybody does, right?
If my wife called in, she'd say the same thing. So,
feel free. Bring her in next time.
Absolutely. But just being able to disconnect for a little bit.
Yeah.
Being an athletic director, it's a 24/7, 365
is there true
job.
Disconnection?
Maybe for an hour or two.
Really?
But just that's part of the job. I love doing it. But tonight, my boys have Pop Warner football, and I'll do my best not to look at my phone and support them while they're playing. So
for that hour and a half, they're your attention.
Exactly.
There you go. There is something to be said though for, especially the wives and husbands, but family in general. But there is something to be said for the support needed from them, right? It's being the wife of a coach is not always the easiest of jobs when you're having late nights and watching film. That's not really something that you can really do as a couple.
Absolutely. And I think, folks don't know how much time coaches put in.
Yeah.
The hours they put in just preparing for a practice and in the off season.
Yeah.
So it's a very tough profession, and they certainly don't do it for the pay.
Yeah.
They do it for the love of the game and working with students. So, but ultimately you need a very supportive family to make sure it happens too.
Yeah, I think that must drive athletic directors crazy when they see a team that's not getting the results, but that coach is doing a heck of a job with whatever he or she has, and it's working hard, doing the right things, and there is improvement. It's just not translating to wins, and that must drive people when you see criticism maybe of that. That's probably going to be a tough thing for an athletic director, is to watch a good coach kind of get that sort of heat.
Yep. No, you just got to stay positive with the coaches. Try to work with every student, have them improve. As long as they improve from the beginning to the end, then that's a success in my eyes.
Yep. It's not always about wins and losses at high school level, right?
Exactly.
A lot of it is. I umpired for many years as even into college a little bit. I would come back home and get some college spending cash, do some little league games, and I always remember to myself, little league parents were like, and I was a pretty good umpire too. I think I had a good zone. I would get a lot of heat from like parents. There's just crazy parents. Like there's no other way to say it. Even at the Little League level, there are crazy parents, and probably not crazy in real life, but when they get in that moment outside that diamond, it's just they like lose themselves. And yes, as you can imagine, that translates to the high school level. I'm sure you've had some moments. I won't ask you to get into specifics, but parents, how do you deal with them at the high school level? Because I know every athletic director has issues.
No, it's a good point. And funny story from the summer, an umpire didn't show up to my son's baseball game. So, so I volunteered and got right behind the plate and was calling balls and strikes and, was hearing it from from the other coach and from parents and, it's,
they're not paying me for this.
Exactly. I think, I'm a parent myself. So, you want what's best for your kids, but ultimately at the varsity level, the coaches need to put the lineup in that gives them the best chance to win. So, just working with parents, knowing that, the coach really cares about their children. You might not see it in the playing time, but, they're getting that exposure to a team. They're getting to practice every day. They're doing all those things that creating lifelong memories that they'll have. So, if you can kind of take away the focus, put more emphasis on the team, that's what's most important. But, I understand if a parent has a complaint, they're just caring about their kids. So I totally understand.
Sometimes there's bias. I would imagine you're kind of like the last resort. You probably prefer that be handled with the coach, right? Please don't send me the email. Can you try to,
No, that's a great story. I mention it from time to time. The communication protocol is the student athlete should work with the coach directly. And then if it's not handled to the student's liking, then the parent is welcome to come meet with the coach and the student.
That's always fun.
Absolutely. But, when I was in high school, I remember having that conversation with my coach, and my parents certainly weren't going to call the coach. They said, you should schedule a meeting with them. So, ultimately I did. And, we worked out our differences and had a great rest of my career and ultimately ended up working for that coach. And
no kidding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, and had a great experience. So, it's not all, there are peaks and valleys to different relationships. And, the coaches really care about the students. So, but if there ever is an issue, the coaches are very open and approachable. Students need to talk to the coaches. So.
Yeah, I always do think of that when I'm not sure ever in my entire life, and I'm sure there's bad coaches out there across the states somewhere. I'm just not sure I've ever really met them. I've never met a coach who has in any way given me any impression that I have it out for that kid. He's not going to get any playing time. I've never met that coach in my entire life. Whether I played for him, I maybe thought it a couple of times when I was a high school athlete, but then you look back on it and say, that's pretty stupid.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just I can't imagine a coach being like that, and I don't find any that are.
No, and students are going to make mistakes, and what I always explain to parents and students is coaches and teachers are very forgiving. So,
that's true.
As soon as, an apology is made and time passes over, the slate is clean the next season. So one mistake you made sophomore year isn't going to wreck your whole career down the road.
Sometimes it makes you stronger too, and you can work through those things, right?
Absolutely.
And the other thing too is, I guess it's probably good advice for maybe I guess I kind of think more of the upperclassmen too. I mean, if you're a freshman and sophomore complaining about playing time, all right, listen, you got a couple of years to make it work here, get better. But I was thinking the junior and the senior. I remember being that guy in a couple teams where you just thought you deserved to be getting more time, maybe out there starting or whatever. Man, I'm an upperclassman now. How's the younger guy getting to go? But some of those teams, when you're not necessarily on, making that impact on the field or on the court or on the ice or whatever, some of those teams end up being the most fun teams to be around, and just that dynamic. If you can just play your role and figure out a role or figure out to make it work, some of those teams can be the most fun in the end, really.
Absolutely. I'm sure you feel the same way. I don't remember the scores of any of the games I was participating in, but you always remember your teammates and times you spent together and dinners and any type of community service you did together. So those are the memories. When athletics prepares you whether you're going to college or the workplace or the armed services, they're going to prepare you to work in with a team and getting along with others for the common good of a certain mission. So
yeah, I remember we had it's funny you said that, because I remember one of my freshman basketball team, we had crazy basketball numbers. It was at Danvers High, and I had crazy basketball numbers come out. We were looking at like 30, close to 40 freshmen. So you're looking at that, you're saying maybe a couple varsity, a couple will get pulled up to JV. Probably in the end, looking at like 25 freshmen, going to have to cut some, you just can't carry that many. We quickly realized what the coaches were doing. We were running a real lot during tryouts. I think they were hoping some of us would bail. And I said, yeah, I'm good. But what ended up happening was coaches were promising cuts. The freshman coach said, no, we're going to obviously have to cut. We can't carry this many people. And there were no rules at the time for freshman teams. One of the coaches that I will respect till the end of my life for this move was, at the end, he sat us all down. We were expecting to hear cuts, or at least when the cuts would come. And he said, you all worked hard. We're going to keep everyone here. We're going to figure it out. And it killed, I remember being a little bit upset, because I was pretty sure I was going to make that freshman team. And this is just going to cut. Nobody's going to get to play. Playing time is going to be a disaster. And all of us were kind of upset. All my guys that I still play basketball with sometimes to this day, we're all upset. And I got to say, it was one of the most fun sporting years I've ever had in my entire life, because we had I think we ended up having 18, 19, 20 guys, whatever.
Sure.
And the practices were just so much fun. I mean, we used to have tournaments. We went up and down for hours. They gave us an extra court because we had so many kids. So, I mean, it was crazy. And it was just such a fun year. We probably got, how many minutes in a basketball game these days? 11, 44 minutes or something?
32, yeah, for high school, yeah.
What is it? Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, because they do quarters now, right? 8-minute quarters. So it's not much. It's a quick game. You're probably getting at least, maybe 8 minutes of playing time if he's trying to get everybody some time, which he was. And that was just such a fun year. Barely playing in games, but the practices were just so much fun. It's one of my best high school memories, is playing freshman basketball and just having every freshman guy I knew just out there battling every day. It was fun.
That's awesome.
I think it's a good story. I always thought it was a good sporting story.
Absolutely.
Whenever I hear about freshmen getting cut, it always bothers me. I don't know if you'll have to run into that being. Do you foresee cuts at the freshman level, or how are the numbers these days on across the board sports?
I'm not sure. Certainly, there might be sports that you do have to cut. But then there's always, what I always recommend to the coaches is, to make sure you recommend another sport to the students. So you certainly don't want to send someone home thinking they can't participate in a season. Every season there's sports that are available to everyone. So
and get better for next year.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's
Michael
Jordan, right?
Everyone peaks at different times in their life. So just because you didn't make the team your freshman year, if you go home and you work, prepare over the summer, you're be in a better position the next year. And
I always say, that I've never met a coach who's out to get a kid. I've also never met a coach who really enjoys cutting a kid.
Right.
That's the toughest part of the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, across the board, you ask any coach, that's the hardest part of the job.
Yeah. That really has not. That's one of the things that has not gotten any easier over the years. Everybody I talked to, it's been the same answer for 10 years. But again, Tim Albert's joining us here. He's the new athletic director over at Triton, on the job. Have you even got your first paycheck from Triton yet, or is it
no, not yet.
That's good. I like when we can land the guests before they're actually paid by the school. That's fantastic. So summertime, what have you been doing this summer? Has it been just kind of hanging out and learning a little bit about Triton? Or?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I was at Wilmington on July 31st and started at Triton on August 1st. Okay. So
transition period.
Yep.
How about for fun? What have you been doing?
My wife and I have our boys, we went to Maine for a long weekend. Oh, yeah? That was a lot of fun.
Where'd you go?
Went to Booth Harbor Bay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then our boys just started Pop Warner football last night. So
the boys are very time consuming. It seems.
They really do dictate our schedule. So
I think that's only going to get worse.
Which is a good thing. Yeah,
it is a good thing. And Maine is a beautiful spot to be this time of year.
No, we had a great vacation. Yeah,
I'm going back up there. I'm just coming back myself. I'm going up again soon.
Oh, wonderful.
So, people either go to the Cape or Maine or New Hampshire. It's north or the Cape, I guess, around here. But well, Tim, it's been a pleasure to meet you. This
Thank you.
Flies by. I hope you felt that way.
Absolutely.
I always say when these shows fly by, it's because we enjoyed the conversation. So hopefully you did. Anything you'd like to say out there to the Cape Ann League?
No, just students. I really look forward to meeting you and working with you, and as soon as you're on campus, please stop by my office, and look forward to cheering everyone on.
You don't want any controversy like Newburyport, we're coming for you, or that sort of thing?
No, we'll keep it professional.
You're good with that right off the bat, all right? Give them a couple of years. You might be Tim Edwards, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's do it again if you're cool with it.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, and good luck to you as you kick off the first season.
No, thank you, Drew.
All right. Tim Alberts, Triton Athletic Director, the new Triton Athletic Director over there. We wish him the best of luck here in the coming weeks as he gets going, and we'll see him. As you guys know, athletic directors end up being on this show a lot, so we're going to bother him a lot over the next year or so. You'll see him again. Drew Moholland, Tyler Neufeld in the house, Caleb Noble. We'll bring these guys in to finish up the show as usual in just a moment. Keep it here. My name is Drew Moholland, and this is Afternoon Drive on Joppa Radio.